My name is Li. I am made in China. I spent the first 26 years of my life in China. According to the World Index for Poverty for the past 100 years, the time I lived in China from the end of 1950 to the beginning of 1980, China was a very poor country, and the poverty level was below most of the African countries. But when I was growing up, we never considered ourselves poor. We were told 2/3 of the world population were exploited by the capitalists and imperialists, and they live in deep water and hot fire and awaiting to be liberated by us, the communists. At the same time, the people impoverished by the capitalists, they will be having a hard time struggling to decide whether to buy thin sliced, thick sliced, or not sliced bread. But we in China, happily living in a total equality, and we use all of our wisdoms to figure out what we can put in our mouth and fill our stomachs and not be poisoned and die. That's why the Chinese people today are known to eat everything that can fly except airplanes, everything with legs except tables and chairs, because we need to survive. But at the same time, again, we didn't think we were poor. And we thought that's the way of life because equality is more important. Only until 1984, I moved to United States. For the first time, I realized I can buy and wear a new clothes any day of the year, not just on New Year's Day. Also, I realized I'm allowed to have many pairs of shoes to match the clothes I wear, the events I do. Not when I was growing up, we have one pair of wooden slippers we wear after we took shower, and then just to prevent our feet to get dirty again before we go to sleep. That's the function of the shoes we had. The rest of the day, we didn't have shoes. It was not a necessity. And I start to ask myself, I did not change. Why, after I came to the United States, people told me I was poor. And suddenly, after I left China, I'm no longer poor. So then I came to a conclusion. There is no poor people in the world. Only people live in poor countries or poor areas. Then I start to ask myself and others, why some countries or areas are poor? Most of the time, other people told me, the reason for so-and-so country or so-and-so area is poor is because they lack of natural resources. They have bad climate. They have poor topographies. They have too many mountains, or they have no trees, and they are too hot, they're too cold, or some people even said because the people were born lazy. Then I look around the world and ask myself, what about Germany, Eastern Germany and West Germany? Why there's a difference in their wealth? And then I asked myself, all Chinese people living in countries or places like Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, and mainland China, we're all Chinese. So we shouldn't be told we're born poor, lazy or hardworking. We're the same people. But why the people in Singapore have better lives, people in Hong Kong and Taiwan have better life than the people in China? I asked this question and read a lot of books, and finally I came to a conclusion. It's not because of what God has given us, the mountains, the sun, the water, the lake, the river. It's about the government, the people who claimed the power to be in charge of the area, to be in charge of our lives, and to be in charge of the economy. They're the reason for some areas, some countries to be poor. That's what happened in China. When I was 9 years old, I started living in a very poor, remote area in China, in the mountains area. No electricity, no running water. It's like about 2,000 years ago life, not nomadic, but people use sticks to dig a hole on the ground and put a seed, that kind of life. People were not lazy, but they were dirt poor. My neighbor, family of 6 children, plus parents, 8 people have 1 pair of trousers. Whoever leaves the house get to wear that. But there's no electricity, so it's always dark in the house, so you don't need clothes. The function for clothes that time was to cover yourself in public or to keep you warm for cold area. When I was in the United States, I have a new definition for clothes. It's something you feel like to, you enjoy. You add some color to your life, or just to show off, to follow the fashion, whatever. There's many, many reasons to have clothes. And many, many reasons to have shoes. Not necessity. Then a lot of people talk about the Chinese miracle. To me, it's not miracle. It's not what the government did to help people get rid of the poverty. It's because something they didn't do, they stopped doing. They were controlling every aspect of everybody's life and economy and everything else, because they used a good excuse. We want to provide equality. That's a dangerous word. Today it's so well used by a lot of young people in America, in Europe. they have no idea what they're talking about. What about equality? What is equality? How you get equality? What is the definition of equality? And have no clue. But I know, because the Chinese Communist government, they had a good intention. They thought equality was good. In their definition, means redistribute all the outcomes of products and wealth equally among people. They use that as the definition of equality. The outcome was everybody became equally poor. Starving. People were dying by the thousands per day of starvation. And we were thinking the people under the capitalists are waiting for us to liberate them. By the beginning of 1970s, middle of 1970s, Chinese government suddenly realized their policy doesn't work. They have to stop because nobody's getting better off after 30 years. Everybody's worse. Even the poor was poorer than at the beginning of the 1949. So they decided to let go. Let go some of the controls. And the village we lived, and the government just told us, we're not going to tell you what to plan anymore. You go ahead and plan whatever you see fit. And the land, we let you use the land. Not giving to you a title or property right or anything, just the right to use it. And each family, each person get equal certain amount of land. And then everybody have the liberty to decide what they want to use that land for, to plant things, to plant trees, plant crops, and to raise animal, chicken, ducks, whatever. And immediately, almost overnight, things start to change. People still work the same amount of hours, doing same kind of hard work, but they produced so much more because they knew the land. They knew the climate. They knew the seasons, what will grow, when things will grow. And then just by giving people back some of the liberties, things start to change. So if you want to call China a miracle, that's the miracle. When governments stop controlling, stop managing your life, stop telling you what to do. So I want all of us to rethink how we can cure the poverty problem in the world today, because a lot of people still use that as, I don't know, a tool or a way to brag or a way to live, because they claim, I care about the poor. I want to help. And we Americans, we have too much, and they don't have, so we have to give. Those are good intentions, but those are not right thing to do. Because equality means equal opportunity. Doesn't mean equally redistribute the outcome of the products. Equal opportunities. That's what I gained after I left China. That's the difference. Changed me from a poor, impoverished person to a rich person in many standards. Overnight, just because I moved the location, I got the freedom to choose. I got the freedom to make decisions for myself. That's the only difference. So when we think about we want to help the poor people, think about what really will make the difference. Get rid of the blocks, barriers, preventing people from become prosperous. People knows what they can do and what's best for them. Like Dr. Hugo said, some people can wash windows, some people can manage a shop, some people can teach, some people can, do carpentry work. Everybody knows. They don't need other people to tell them or regulate them. We are all created with God's image and God's character. God is creator, so we are also have ability to create. We are dignified people. And poor people are not beggars. When people have natural disasters or accident or certain emergency circumstances, they need help. It's great you give them what they need to help them. But if you want to help people walk out of poverty with their own feet, with their dignity, you need to think how you can help them to remove the things, the people, the policies that are preventing them from doing so. At the Acton Institute, we made 2 films, one called Poverty Inc., one called Poverty Cure. I hope you will find time to watch those 2 films. They are award-winning films. I think many of you here probably have seen it before. In those films, we focus on the human dignity. And when we help, we cannot use our help to make them a slave to our handouts. We cannot kill their desire to be creative. Like Dr. Hugo said, the incentive from the government to make them lazy and don't want to work, we have to help to get rid of those, remove those. That's why we're libertarians. We are here to fight for freedom. We fight to be the owner of our own lives, to have the freedom to make decisions for ourselves, to take care of our own needs. And so when the simple example, when the next time somebody said, like the church I go to, they say, oh, donate shoes for the people who don't have shoes. I said, why? Oh, just because they're poor. They don't have a lot of shoes. I said, is it shoes they want or something else? Shoes a necessity or not necessity? A lot, when we were walking here in Ulaanbaatar, UB, I was trying to be a host to my friends who came here the first time because I've been here 4 or 5 times already. So they were looking at the buildings and the street. They said, oh, this country looks poor. Well, but all the Mongolian people I knew, they're not poor. They're not unhappy. They have their way of life. They don't need shiny buildings. They don't need a lot of things we take for granted. That's not what their life requires. All I heard from Mongolian people is, we wish we can sell our products to the Chinese. Why they couldn't? Because government said no. So if we really want to help the poor, help them to gain their freedom and dignity and walk out of poverty with their own feet. Thank you very much.